Hi, guys. Welcome back to the That's Where I'm At podcast. Today, I am joined by Dr. Debi Silber. Dr. Debi Silber is the world's leading expert on how betrayal and broken trust affect human performance and the founder and CEO of the PBT, the Post Betrayal Transformation Institute, the world's leading organization devoted to betrayal recovery research, education, and transformation. A PhD credentialed researcher, two-time TEDx speaker with 2 million plus combined views, two-time #1 international best-selling author, and award-winning speaker, her work has redefined how the world understands betrayal and its impact on individuals, teams, and organizations. Her research, validated across 100,000 plus people in 50 plus countries, producing 3 groundbreaking discoveries. These discoveries Her research, validated across 100,000 people, her research, validated across 100,000 plus people in 50,000 plus countries, produced 3 groundbreaking. Her research, validated across 100,000 plus people in 50 plus countries, produced 3 groundbreaking discoveries. These discoveries give coaches, leaders, and organizations a new level of precision, making their existing expertise dramatically more effective by knowing exactly where someone is and what they need to finally move forward. An IFC approved CCE provider, founder of National Forgiveness Day, and creator of the #1 betrayal recovery certification for coaches, Dr. Debi also hosts the globally top-ranked podcast From Betrayal to Breakthrough and has been featured on Fox, CBS, and the Dr. Oz Show. So welcome, Dr. Debi. I'm so glad
Thank,
you're here.
thank you so much. Looking forward to our conversation.
When I heard you on a different podcast, I was really excited to hear about this because having been betrayed myself, it's such an important topic in my community. Talking to women all day long about, their betrayal, not only from a narcissist, like they're in their marriage and whatever, but I've always told people, and I never understood how to explain it. It's like, it's so much more than that. It's not like they're cheating. It's it's betrayal is different.
Mhm.
Betrayal is like you've been lying about everything. It bamboozled us. And
Mhm.
that's what I didn't know how to explain it, but betrayal is such a perfect word. So, can you tell me how you got into doing this line of work? How you decided, here you are doing a podcast and you have this #1 certification. So, tell me how you got into doing this line of work.
You don't think I just like the topic of betrayal? No.
Yes, of course. I mean, this is what I've always dreamed. Like when I was a little girl, I'm like, this is what I always have dreamed of doing.
Yeah, no, no, no. We study because we have to. I'm actually in business 34 years, health, mindset, personal development. And then I had a really painful betrayal from my family.
Mm,
I thought I did all I needed to do to heal from that. And then it happened a few years later. This time it was my husband. So that was
okay.
the deal breaker. Got him out
Yeah.
of the house, looked at the two experiences, thinking, okay, what's similar here? Of course, me, but what else? And I realized, boundaries were always getting crossed. I never took my own needs seriously. And I'm one of those people that really believes if nothing changes, nothing changes. Now, usually I would go to books or courses or mentors to help
Okay.
me learn my way through something, but I couldn't find anything. And this was so big. I don't have to tell, anybody who's been through it,
Yeah.
that I needed to just study this so big. So here I was, 50 years old, 4 kids, 6 dogs, a thriving practice. And I find myself enrolling in a PhD program. Like, maybe not the typical response to
Yeah.
betrayal, but I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. I didn't know how I was going to manage the time, but I just knew something had to change. And I'm in this program, and I just remember a moment where I said, to myself, I have no idea if I can heal from this, but if I can, I'm taking everybody with me. Like, it was
Oh,
just a knowing.
yes.
And then it was time to do a study. So I studied betrayal, and it was really so I'd be better for my kids, be better
Mhm.
for my clients. And that study led to 3 groundbreaking discoveries, which changed my health, my family, my work, my life.
That is amazing. And we're so thankful that it did, because now we get to hear from you. I love that. And I love, we're so similar that way. I'm like, I take everybody with me. I'm like, you got to hear about this thing I just learned about. My friends sometimes are like, oh my gosh, a new thing or whatever. But I feel like as we're moving down the road on our healing journey, like something new comes up, right? I mean, I've been healing for 3.5 years, and just talking to you and listening to you, I'm like, something new was unlocked. It's like we're not, I always say, if we're not dead, we're not done. And it was so empowering to learn some new tools to
Yeah.
move me on my healing journey.
Well, that was, and thank you. But that's what was so terrifying. I mean, here, I'm a really private person. And when you think of betrayal, that's like the most gossiped
Yeah.
topic. And
Yeah.
I'm private and I didn't want anybody knowing about my life and the judgment that comes from it and all of this. But I knew this was stuff no one had ever heard of. And this
Mhm.
could really help people. So, I sort of made that decision, kind of get out of the way. And any good coach has a coach, right? And I'll never forget being in it was a group, and it was, everybody's on Zoom, and you know how you're sort of rehearsing what you're going to say as
Yeah.
everybody's going around getting
Yeah.
ready for your turn. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk about this study, and I'm going to tell about all the discoveries, and that's what I've been sharing, that's what I was comfortable with. And my coach just points the finger at me and he's like, stop hiding behind your effing study already.
Oh my God.
And I wanted to throw up and hide. And I was like, okay, you
Yeah.
know what? So I remember the first time I spoke about it, one of the very first places I spoke about it was on the TEDx stage, which
Wow.
is terrifying. But it, I knew there are so many people who would judge and criticize and everything else. And then there would be others
Yeah.
who would say, okay, you know what? She gets it and she can help me. And that's who I'm speaking to.
Yes, exactly. And I've said this so many times, like I'm speaking for that woman who was me, who
Yeah.
was dying. And if she didn't hear that there was hope on the other side, she was going to die. Because I literally wanted to die by the
Mhm.
end of my marriage. So many decades of everything, and it was so heartbreaking to walk out and go like, what just happened here? Like what just happened to me? And so, but now it's like so much better on the other side, but I didn't know that because I didn't know anyone talking about it.
Yeah.
And I was being told to not talk about it and not call it abuse. So that's why I picked up a microphone, because I wanted to talk about it and say, well, it only protects abusers. So why aren't we talking about it? So how,
Exactly.
for you, when you got on that TEDx stage, I mean, and you were saying, oh my gosh, didn't want to say anything. I was
Mhm.
so, I don't know if you used the word shy or not, but you didn't really want to say anything.
Yeah.
How did that feel to then start talking about it?
It was terrifying. And actually, that was my second TEDx. The first one, I don't even know how I did this. That was 6 weeks after my betrayal.
Oh my gosh.
So my world completely imploded. And here I am on a TEDx stage 6 weeks after. I can't even look at that first one because I know what I was going through. I really wasn't ready to talk about it, but you can sort of hear me alluding to it.
Yeah.
But like anything we do that's new and unfamiliar, it's terrifying,
Yeah.
but we do it. And as we do, we realize, okay, you know what? I survived that. And I
Yeah.
helped along, a lot of people in the process, hopefully. And let me do it again and again. But I wasn't sharing it for the sake of this is my story and let's just
Mhm.
do, hear about all the what I've been through.
Yeah.
There was such and this is how I've always been. If there's any positive or any transformation that you can get because of it,
Yeah.
or any sort of forward moving anything, then it's trauma well served. And let me share that. And
Right.
that's been my message from day one. So when these discoveries showed up, I'm like, how do you keep this to yourself? Like this is a game changer for
Right.
anybody struggling. And I'm here to, I'm happy to share,
Yes, I was going to
with
ask
you.
you. Yeah, if you want to share a little bit on that, because I do want to give people hope. And
Yeah.
and what I thought was interesting when I've listened to you talk is that betrayal is not just from our spouse. So
Mm-mm.
if you could touch a little bit on what other things could be betrayal in our life.
Yeah. So I define it as the breaking of a spoken or unspoken rule. And
Mm,
every relationship has them. And the way it works is the more we trust and the more we depend on that person, the
yeah,
deeper the betrayal. So let's take a child who's totally dependent on their parent and the
yeah,
parent does something awful. That's going to have a different impact than, your best friend sharing your secret. Still
Yes.
betrayals, but different level of cleanup. But it
Yeah.
could be anything. It could be, you know, your siblings, and it's like, okay, one day we'll take care of mom and dad, and then that day comes, where are they? It
Yes.
could be, you know, your coworker took credit for your idea.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
could be just even a perception, like you get a diagnosis, it's a misdiagnosis. You could feel betrayed by the medical community.
Wow.
You could, something terrible can happen, and you can feel betrayed by God. I mean, whatever. So it's
Yes.
any,
Yeah.
it's anything where it's like you had this spoken or unspoken rule,
Hmm.
and then you didn't have that. That wasn't met, or you were neglected, whatever it was.
Right.
And, you know, let's say the idea was, I'm supposed to be protected by this person in a position of authority, and they took
Yeah.
advantage of you. That's
Yeah.
betrayal.
Yeah.
So but betrayal is so unique because of
Right.
the shock to it. And that was actually the first discovery. Betrayal is a different type of experience. So
Yes.
anybody who tells you trauma is trauma and they're treating it, you go to the most well-meaning counselors, therapists, whatever, and they're like, oh, we'll treat it just like we treat death of a loved one, disease, natural
Right.
disaster. No.
Right.
And here's why. When you, like, let's take, you know, losing someone you love,
Yeah.
you grieve, you're sad, you mourn the loss, life will never be the same. Now, the invitation is to rebuild your life in a new and different way without them.
Okay.
They're not in your life, you rebuild it. Here's the thing with betrayal, not only do you
Yeah.
have to rebuild your life, you have to rebuild the self. Now, everybody's
Uh,
going to relate to this. Think about what was shattered:
yes.
rejection, abandonment, belonging,
Wow.
confidence, worthiness, trust destroyed.
Yes, exactly. I walked out going, I don't even know who I am. What happened to me? I,
Exactly.
that's what I felt like, completely like run over. I
Yeah.
didn't even know. So when people are saying, so when I'm speaking to ladies and they're saying to me, I want to get back to who I was. I'm
Mm-mm.
like, do we even know who we were? We don't even know who we were because we're shape shifting to be somebody else.
Yeah, and you don't even want to get back to who you were, because
No.
that version of you may
Yes.
have been tolerating what you no longer are willing to tolerate. Maybe
Yeah.
you were settling, maybe you were overlooking things, maybe you weren't having your needs met.
Yeah.
So to get back to who you were, that's a wasted opportunity. But when I
Wow.
say betrayal is different, think about it. People are like, "Okay, let me move forward." So they rebuild their life to some extent, but they don't deliberately and intentionally rebuild the self. And that's why they're stuck. Here's the thing also. When, let's say, use that example of losing someone you love, people rally. They're bringing you
Yeah.
the casseroles. You know, what do you need? How
Yes.
can I help? With betrayal,
Yeah.
so often the betrayed is struggling and suffering in silence because they're so ashamed, humiliated, and embarrassed
Yeah.
for something they didn't even do. So they're not getting that help they need because
Yeah.
they're not asking for it. To make matters worse, very often they're covering for the betrayer. That betrayer is so loved, so well respected, the community, the friends, that
Yeah.
everybody loves them. So now here they are, they're having one of the most painful of the human experiences,
Yeah.
and they're trying to act like it's a regular Tuesday.
Right.
What's
And
for
that,
dinner, mom?
and
I
like
mean,
it's
like,
a regular divorce. And that's the thing. It's like, because I didn't know anything was going on until I started unraveling a few months after we got a divorce. So the first
mhm,
3 months, I just like almost laugh looking back because I'm like, you didn't even know what the bomb was about to drop, because I wasn't aware of what had really been happening. And so I did all those things you just said. I was protecting him. I was talking about it, but not really because I didn't want to sound like a bitter, ex-wife and all
mhm,
that. But the
mhm.
minute I found out what had happened, I'm like, oh no, you betrayed me, not just with somebody, but with all the lies and everything else that you did through our marriage. I couldn't keep my mouth shut because I had to, at first it was petty, but then it was like I have to tell other
That's
people.
not petty. No, that's
Well, that's how I
real.
felt. That's how, yes,
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. I was grieving out loud.
Yeah, but it's a lot to grieve. And here's the thing too. There are so many people who can relate to what you just said, and they're like, how did I not see? How did I not know? I just
Yes.
really want to address that.
Yeah.
First of all, betrayal is designed to be deceptive.
Right.
So you weren't supposed to see, you weren't supposed to know. And here's the thing, you also don't know how to think like that. That's a good
Right.
thing. You
Yes,
know,
exactly.
so
Yes.
to be angry and upset with yourself because you didn't see and you didn't know, that's not your fault. Now,
Hmm.
here's the thing, too. And this is part of one of the other discoveries, and I'm happy to
Yeah.
get to all of them. But one of the things we do is we intentionally or unintentionally turn down our intuition. Like there's a
Mm.
camp that's like, I had no idea,
Yeah.
right? Very real. Now, a lot of times we do that because we have so much on our plate. And the only way we
Yeah.
can get it all done is if we kind of turn down the feeling and being and turn up the thinking and doing. And we become
Yeah.
almost machine like. So we could just get stuff checked off our list. Like I had a lot going on, 4 kids, 6 dogs, a business. Like I don't even, I mean, I was just managing.
Yes.
So so it's very common to, unintentionally turn down our intuition. Now, there's the other camp, and there's no shame if this is you.
Yeah.
This is the group that intentionally turn down their intuition.
Mm.
And they do that because if they were to confront
Yeah.
that partner, that boss, that coworker, whoever, that friend,
Yeah.
on what their intuition is telling us, it would likely unravel everything they put in place.
Everything. Yeah.
And they don't have the mental, the emotional, maybe the financial bandwidth to take that on. So
Mm-hmm.
what they say is, you know what? I'm sure I'm imagining it. I'm sure it's not what it
Yeah.
seems. I'm sure there's a logical explanation for all
Yeah.
of this. And they're doing that because I have a saying in my 34 years of business, and it's hard now, easy later.
Yeah.
Easy now, hard later. Take your pick. It's one of those two.
Right.
That's a case of easy now. You know what? I'm sure there's an explanation. Hard later. It's still there. You see.
Mhm. Yes, for
And
sure.
most people do that.
And is it part of our survival mode? Because I feel like I was definitely there.
Mhm.
You know, I could tell like things were wrong in my marriage, and maybe he was fooling around or something, but I'm like, if I look too close at it, it's going to destroy my entire life. It
Yeah.
will blow up my entire life. I had that too with some church betrayal, and
Mhm.
I felt the same way that if I started to question it and all these things, that the whole thing was going to blow up, and it
Yeah.
did, which is a good thing. Like you were saying, it
Mhm.
was hard, it was
Mhm.
horrible. I grieve it,
Yeah.
but it's easy now,
Well, that's it because you moved through it. Now, here's the thing, too. With a lot of these betrayals,
Yeah.
they work when we don't think, according to them. It's a
Oh,
problem if we're an independent thinker. It's a problem
yes.
if we question it. It's a problem when we're thinking independently. It doesn't work well when we do, because if we're being manipulated, if we're being lied to, if we're being deceived, and we assume, well, they must know,
Yeah.
they must be telling us the truth. They must know better than me.
Right.
It
Yeah.
keeps that dynamic quote unquote, working, right? Where the only way that works, if you're off kilter, if you're not feeling good about yourself, if you're questioning your own self worth and all the things, that works beautifully. But
Hmm.
the minute you start thinking, you know what, that doesn't really make sense. Wait, hold on. I what if that this and that and the other thing, now it all starts to unravel. That's a
Right.
whole paradigm shift. And with a lot of us, we're not ready to take that on.
Yeah. And that for me is what happened. Every single thing in my life unraveled, and I actually,
Mhm.
it was horrible. I thought I wasn't going to be able to breathe, but
Yeah.
that whole saying is true. It was hard, it was
Yeah.
horrible. And then now I'm okay with the way things have unraveled, because everything in my life is what's supposed to be there. Everything that is in my life now, that's the right people, it's good people, it's all the communities I have around me. It's what's supposed to be there.
And it's intentional. And that's
Yeah.
the idea. When we're living by default, when we're living according to
Yeah.
the rules or whatever of everybody else, and we're questioning ourselves, it's not really our life. And betrayal has this way of cracking us completely open.
Yeah.
And that's the opportunity, and it's such a waste of trauma when we don't use that opportunity to
Yeah.
our advantage. Like I mentioned that the 2 TEDx talks. In the second one, I talk about an old house. Here's the opportunity. So imagine there's an old house. Here's the difference between resilience and transformation.
Okay.
So resilience is restoring. You need that for your everyday. Trauma and transformation, a whole different thing. So let's say there's an old house, and imagine the old house needs a new roof. You get a new roof. That's resilience. Let's say it needs a boiler. You get a boiler. That's
Hmm.
resilience. You're restoring it, bringing it back to what it was. Here's trauma and transformation. A tornado comes along. and levels the house.
Yeah.
A new roof's not fixing it, and a new
Right.
boiler's not fixing it. Now, here's the thing. You have every right to stand there at the lot where your house once stood and say, oh my gosh, this is the most horrible thing that's ever happened. You'd be right. And you can call
Yeah.
all your friends over. Look at this. Isn't this terrible? They'd all agree.
Yeah.
And you can mourn the loss of your house till your last breath.
Yeah.
Right. But if you choose to rebuild the house, you don't have to, but if you choose to, why would you build the same one? There's nothing there.
Yeah.
You see, that's the opportunity. Right. So when, to your point, when people are like, I want to get back to the old self, there's no old self there.
Yeah.
It's all a bunch of pieces. Take all the parts you love and leave behind everything that you're now ready to outgrow.
I love that. It's so true. And I never really understood or knew how to verbalize that to them. I'm like, no, we're trying to move forward. Like, it's a new season. It's a new mindset, especially like, I don't want to go back to being 22. that girl did not have boundaries. She didn't know what she was doing. She did not have a full brain. When I was 55 and everything blew up, I'm like, I got to move forward from here. This is who am I? I always say, like, who does Laura want to be when she grows up? That's what that's what I say.
Exactly. But you know what? It's as much as it's this big serious topic and changing all these things, it could be this silly stuff too. Like, for example, after my betrayal, I was like, you know what? I'm changing everything just because. And whatever I don't like, I'm changing. Now, I used to be so hard on myself. I was so critical. I would never say to anybody else what I would say to myself. Like, for example, I get lost wherever I go. I just do. So I know, leave extra time, good chance you're going to make a wrong turn. And I would always get so angry at myself, calling myself names. And that was just one of the things. So after the betrayal, as I was redoing everything, I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just not. So instead of being harsh and critical on myself, because I get to decide what I want to do, instead of that, I'm going to still do those same things, and they're simply going to be adorable.
I love that.
And everyone has to go along with it too. So now, I'm doing the same things and I'm easier on myself.
Yeah.
That's part of it. You're rebuilding a new and different version of yourself. And you get to, that's again, it's the opportunity. You get to build a version of you that wouldn't have had the opportunity to be built in that way. It's earned, totally earned.
And like, say the person who betrayed us, say our spouse, and if they were a narcissist, they're saying things like, oh, Debi, you're so ridiculous. Like you always get lost. And so it's almost like you're ashamed of that. Right. So when you're moving forward, now that you're out of that and you're saying like, this is going to be adorable, how do we reconnect those parts so that we can start making it adorable and not be listening to their voice?
Yeah, I love that. And that's part of the third discovery, but I want to teach you something because I think everybody watching, listening will really get a lot of benefit from this. I call it the window of willingness. And this is how you know if it's safe and in your best interest to heal and rebuild with someone or to move along. Because I'm answering your question in a different way.
Yeah.
So now imagine the window is the widest open, and that represents the greatest opportunity to heal and rebuild, where you feel safe and valued. And this is a good thing, to all the way where it's going to be closed. Heal yourself and move along. Ready?
Yeah.
Now, this is going to be a shock to everybody. So buckle up, and I'm sending you so much love right here because you're going to see exactly who you're working with. So now imagine the window is the widest open. This is level 1. And what this represents is the greatest opportunity to heal and rebuild with someone. What this looks like is someone is taking full, complete responsibility. It's going to sound something like this. Oh my gosh, Laura, I am so sorry. I can't believe what I said, what I did to you. What in the world do I need to do to make this up to you? Now, when it comes to betrayal, it's going to take a lot more than that, but you're working with something here. Right?
Yes.
Okay. You're going to feel the window closing with level 2. So level 1, complete and total ownership.
Yeah.
You're going to feel the window closing a little bit with level 2. And you know it's coming when you hear the word because. Well, I did it because, I said it because. That's an excuse. There's still something to work with here, but it didn't sound or feel as good as that level 1. Did you feel the difference there?
Yes.
Okay. Here's, to your point, the narcissist, it's coming, the gaslighter with level 3. And you know it's coming when you hear the word you. Well, I did because you. I said it because you. This is crazy making.
Yeah.
This is the only way that dynamic works when you believe that, right?
Yeah. Right.
You have very little to work with right here because that person is blaming and shaming you for something you didn't even do. You're not crazy. You didn't
Right.
do it. This dynamic only works when this is the setup. Level 3
Yes.
and level 4, close cousins right here. And you know you're at level 4 when you're being blamed. And it sounds something like this. And it's complete denial, zero responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You're crazy. You really need to get some help. Like, I don't even understand where you're coming up with these things. You really need help. Okay. So, level 1 and level 2, you have something to work with if you choose.
Yeah.
If you choose. Level 3 and level 4, at this point, in their current level of consciousness, this is the best you're going to get from them. Heal yourself and move along.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know right now there's somebody who's like, oh my gosh, I have been banging my head against the wall with a level 3, level 4. I get it. I get it. That was my family. I understand. And
Yes.
you don't have what to work with at this point in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know it's a hard thing to understand because you're like, I don't get it. Why would someone do this? This
Mm-hmm.
is where they're at.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that we don't understand that because we
No,
wouldn't do that. That
exactly.
was I always say we're trying to make logic out of an illogical situation.
Yeah.
We do not, that is not our default. We do not behave that way. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's hard for us to understand. And I always tell women, do not go ask them why they did it. They
Mm-hmm.
do not have an answer. And if they feel like it, they'll say things to hurt you. Do
Mm-hmm.
not open the door to them saying, why did you do that? Because I did, because I didn't know, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know
Yeah.
anything about narcissism. I didn't know. And he didn't have an answer for me. And
Yeah.
all it did was hurt me, whatever
Of
he said.
course. And it's so crazy, but I came up with this one day. You know, we like I said, we had 6 dogs. We lost all 6 during COVID.
Oh,
But I was looking at them one day, and you know when you just get this insight, right? And I look at them one day and I'm like, they're dogs. And
yeah.
I would never expect them to not be dogs because this is what dogs do. Why am I expecting my family to be anything other than what they've always been?
Yeah.
That's on me,
Yes, exactly.
right? So when we understand that, whichever way, however we get that message, it's really freeing. I'm not saying it's pleasant and it feels good, but
Right.
it's freeing in that it's not you.
Yeah.
It's not you, but your healing is up to you. And the third discovery was all about that.
And so then you can decide, am I going to work with this? Am I going to, this is all they're going to give me. So if
Mm-hmm.
nothing changes, this is what they're going to give me. And so I can decide if I'm going, what my boundaries are going to look like, if I'm going to interact with them, or if I'm going to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
and you're not expecting, because I did that for years, expecting people to change.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to interact with you, but I expect you to get better because I'm trying to get well. And also, you're being told you need to be better by a lot
Mm-hmm.
of, if you have a lot of toxic people around you, which I did, a lot of systems that were toxic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Telling me if you were better, then this would be better.
Yeah.
And
Right.
well, so I, made myself better by going to therapy and then getting out.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing. And when you have all these people and all these systems telling you it's you, and if you don't have the confidence and the strength, you
Yeah,
assume that they're right because these are the people that you trust.
of
This is why
course.
the shattering of trust hurts so much too. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
we have this, and this is the thing also. People don't rebuild the self, and they don't rebuild that
Mhm.
trust. Well-meaning, well-intentioned coaches, counselors, therapists will say, you really need to learn to trust again.
Yeah.
Well-meaning sounds good, right? So
Right.
flawed. Here's why. We have this system that we put in place to decide if someone is trustworthy,
Mhm.
right? Our own system we create. You know what? I feel they're trustworthy. They've done or said something enough times.
Okay.
I can decide they're trustworthy. So now think about it. They betray that trust. They shatter that trust. As terrible as that is, because that was the person we ran to when other people were causing the harm. That's
Yeah.
become the person causing the harm. That's the person who gave us a sense of safety and security. That's the person who took it away. What's even worse is we look at it and say, oh no, my system that I've created
Mm.
to decide who's trustworthy or not is broken. My compass is broken.
Yeah.
I can't I put this whole system in place so I could feel safe, and it's broken. How in the world can I trust in anyone again? You see? So we
Right.
have to rebuild that. It's crucial.
So when people, well-meaning people are saying
Mhm.
like, do these, I don't know, do these little things to,
Mhm.
or even that, because I
Yep.
think it's hard if we're coming out of abuse, if we've been betrayed, I, that gut feeling, I can't trust even my gut feeling because look at my whole world just blew up. So how do you recommend even a little bit that we start rebuilding? What can we do to rebuild that?
Yeah, you move through the 5 stages of betrayal recovery.
Okay.
And that was the third discovery. We didn't get to the second, but that was the third. And that was the most exciting discovery, because what we learned was, while we can stay stuck for years, decades, a lifetime, if we're going to fully heal, we're going to move through 5 proven predictable stages.
Okay.
And what's even more exciting about that is we know what happens physically, mentally, and
Mhm.
emotionally at every stage. And we know what we need to do in order to move from one stage to the next. Healing is entirely predictable. So most people who've been betrayed are stuck in stage 3. And I'm happy to go through the stages.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
please
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
And transformation doesn't even begin until stage 4. So you're going to see the missed opportunity here. Ready?
Yes.
Stage 1 is before it happens. And when we're in what we think is a trusting relationship, we're not
Yeah.
scanning for betrayal. We're
Right.
doing the things. We're going to work, we're raising our kids, all this stuff. And that's why it could be such a shock,
Yeah.
especially if it's a very skilled narcissist, very skilled gaslighter, right?
Yes.
And we're not looking for it. So, and as I said before, we're intentionally or unintentionally turning down our intuition.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, stage 2, shock, trauma, D-Day, discovery day. This is the scariest
Yeah.
of all of the stages. And it's the breakdown of the body, the mind, and the worldview. I remember someone in my study saying, you know what it felt like? It felt like every negative emotion you can imagine, getting punched in the gut and losing a child in a crowd all at the same time.
It was the most horrible thing. I did not sleep for 3 days when
Yeah.
I found out that he had been, cheating and everything,
Yeah.
and then started to unravel a lot more. As you get clarity with your
Mhm.
healing, I was starting to unravel a lot more. I couldn't sleep and I was so dysregulated. I didn't know how I was going to survive it. And
Yeah.
thank God to be on the other side. But yes, that was probably the worst day for
Yeah.
sure.
And what you're mentioning are classic symptoms of post betrayal syndrome. That's the
Mm.
second discovery. Happy to share more about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now here you are. You've ignited the stress response. You're headed for every single stress related
Yeah.
symptom, illness, condition, disease. The mind is in like this state of chaos and overwhelm.
Hmm.
And your worldview has just been totally shattered. That's your mental model, the rules that govern you. Trust this person. Don't go here. This is how life works. And in one earth shattering moment or series of moments,
Hmm.
every rule you've been following is no longer true.
Yeah.
The bottom has bottomed out in you. You feel like you're going to die. Everybody, it's like you have this psychological earthquake.
Yeah.
Life is now before this moment and after, right?
Hmm. Yes.
Everybody remembers their D-Day. Yeah. But
Yeah.
think about it. If the bottom were to bottom out on you, what would you do? You'd grab hold of anything or anyone in
Hmm.
order to stay safe and stay alive. And that's stage 3. Survival instincts emerge. This is the most practical out of all of
Okay.
the stages. And this is the most common place the majority of people get stuck. And
Oh,
here's why:
really? Okay.
because it feels so much better than the shock and trauma where you just came from, we think it's good. And because we don't know there's anywhere else to go, we think this is it. So we create this functioning life again, right? We're able
Yeah.
to go back to work. We're able to raise the kids. We're able to eat again. We're able to sleep again, but it's safe. And it's
Yeah.
behind walls and it's with a flatness, because it takes a lot of courage to be willing to be vulnerable.
Hmm.
Takes a lot of courage to be willing to wisely trust again. So we put ourselves behind these walls and we're like, you know what? This is where I'm staying.
Yeah.
And we're not healed, we're becoming hardened
Oh, geez.
right here, right?
Yes.
And now, because we're so unhappy, we're not happy, but we don't know there's anywhere else to go. So right here, maybe we see a well-meaning, well-intentioned therapist, but if they're not skilled in betrayal, you know what's going to happen? You're going to feel heard and validated and understood. And you're doing that week after week after week. And you're like, I'm not moving forward.
Right.
Well, you're actually solidifying your spot in stage 3.
Wow. Okay.
Like in stage 2, it's really valuable. You regulate your nervous system and learn how to sleep again and all the things. But in stage 3, it could be really damaging. Like if I tell you how many people we used to have come into the PBT Institute with therapy trauma, again, well-meaning, but
Yes.
heart-centered, but they're keeping people stuck because if you're only feeling heard and validated and understood, you're not an inch closer to stage 4. But they
Yeah.
didn't know there was a stage 4 to take them to.
Right. We don't know that. We
No,
just think that we need to get out of that horrible
that's it.
place where we were, right?
Yeah. And because it's so miserable and we're so unhappy,
Yeah.
right here, we start numbing, avoiding, and distracting. We
Hmm.
use food, drugs, alcohol, work, TV, whatever. We do it for a day, a week, a month. Now it's a habit, a
Yeah.
year, 10 years, 20 years. And I can see someone 20 years later and say, that emotional eating you're doing, that drinking, whatever, do you think that has anything to do with your betrayal? And they look at me like I'm crazy.
Right. Yeah.
And they'd say it happened 20 years ago.
Right.
But all they did was put themselves in stage 3 and stayed there. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Oh my gosh. So then what is stage 4
Yeah.
that
And I
we
do,
need to get to?
right. And I want to just tell you something so super subtle because I see this all the time too. There are 2 methods of mass distraction that you get commended for.
Mm,
And because think about it, if you're drinking or doing drugs, you clearly know this
yeah.
is not in my best interest, right? But what if all of a sudden you adopt a really healthy eating or exercise program?
Yeah.
What if you dive into your work? Now people are like, go you with that healthy eating. And look at you, you're such a hard worker.
Yeah.
And we're commended for it. But meanwhile, if we're choosing those things to
Hmm.
avoid healing from our betrayal, you see how sneaky that could be?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I remember a woman saying, we had a session, Dr. Debi, I want to tell you all about my healthy eating and my exercise. And isn't that great? I said, it's great if that was your problem. That's
Yeah.
not why you came to me. You came to me for the betrayal. You see? So we do that and it's so sneaky. So I'm saying that because if you're doing that, anybody hearing it, hearing this, no, it's preventing you from healing. Anyway, and I'll tell you the 3 groups who did not heal. I can do that after.
Oh,
But I want
yeah.
to get you to stage 4.
Yeah.
So if you're willing, willingness is a big word right here, to grieve, mourn the loss, bunch of things you need to do. You move to stage 4. Stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal.
Hmm.
Here's where you acknowledge, I can't undo what happened, but
Hmm.
I control what I do with it. Just in that decision, you're
Yeah.
turning down the stress response. You're not healing just yet, but at least you stopped the damage that was
Hmm.
being created in stages 2 and stage 3. Stage 4 is very forward moving. Who do I want to become? What am I ready for now? What was I settling for?
Hmm.
What am I no longer willing to tolerate? Who is this version of me that I'm deliberately building?
Yeah.
What parts of me do I love that come along? What parts don't get to come along? Very action oriented. But you see what we're doing? We're
Yeah.
building based on the rubble and we're picking up the pieces we want. We're leaving behind all that doesn't serve. And then when
Love
we
that.
settle into this space, we make it cozy, kind of mentally home. We move into the 5th most beautiful stage. And this is healing, rebirth, and a new worldview. The
Wow.
body starts to heal. Self love, self care, eating well, exercise. We couldn't do that earlier. Now we can. The mind is healing, all kinds of new rules, new boundaries. Here's where we see new businesses, new passion projects, new
Oh, okay.
levels of health, new relationships, either with the person who hurt them in a very different way or with someone entirely new. You didn't have access to that in stage 3. You
Mm.
see, it's a
Mhm.
whole different world. So when people say to me, what do I do? Do I stay? Do I go? You get to stage 5 because
Yeah.
you will see things from
Yeah.
a place of strength and clarity versus scarcity and fear.
Yeah. And if we've been taught and we've often been societalized to think of others,
Mm-hmm.
kind of abandon ourselves,
Yeah.
women, we're so, taught that and societalized that way. I know that for me, that's what I did. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of my friends was saying how she said people were telling her, well, now you get to dream about your future. And she's like, even know what that means. And I
Yeah.
don't even know
Yeah.
what to do. Like, what does that even mean? Who am I without taking care of everybody?
Yeah.
And so, what does that sound like when women are saying that? Does it sound like I'm stuck? I feel stuck. I feel successful or healed, but I feel stuck. What does that
Yeah.
sound like?
Stuck is when, first of all, you don't even know there's a stage 4 or stage 5.
Right.
So, of course, you're going to feel stuck because this isn't a place that's good. It's only familiar, but you don't know there's anywhere else to go.
Yeah.
So, at least if you're willing to ask yourself those questions, even if you don't have answers yet,
Yeah.
if you're willing to ask yourself those questions, then it's you're sort of coaching yourself into what else could there be. I
Yes.
don't know it yet. I don't see it yet. But the only benefit of where I am now, the only one, is that it's familiar. Just
Yeah.
like a million other things in my past, they were unfamiliar. I took them on. They're familiar now. So, this version of me who's so healthy, so healed, so confident, so whole, so strong, what what did she do? What did she think? What was
Mhm.
she willing to ponder to move towards that?
Yeah.
Willingness is one of the biggest words right there.
I love that. Yeah. Willingness. That makes so much sense. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I want to hear about the groups that didn't heal. You were saying
Yeah.
oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah. So the three groups that didn't heal, the first, they had their story. They were sticking with it. They were deeply,
Oh,
deeply stuck in stage 3. They
okay.
couldn't imagine themselves without that story of betrayal. And you know this when you have, let's say, a friend or a coworker or somebody, and they tell you that story. And as you're listening, you're like, they have said that same story in that same way thousands of times,
Okay.
and they can't imagine anything other than that. It's almost like, let's say you get divorced. I'm divorced. I'm divorced. I'm divorced. I'm divorced. At what point are you single?
Right. Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
So when you have that story and that's the only thing you're talking about, and yes, you need to grieve and mourn and move through and
Mhm.
process and all of that. But at what point does that story change? But the ones who were so committed, they were more committed to their trauma than their transformation. They didn't heal.
Wow.
The second group, this was the group that was numbing, avoiding, distracting.
Okay.
They went to the doctor who put them on a mood stabilizer,
Mhm.
anti-anxiety medication. They were numbing, drinking in whatever way. It may have made the day a bit easier to get through, not without a
Mhm.
price. They didn't heal. And,
Mhm.
I have a saying, face it, feel it, heal it. And
Mhm.
it's hard. Again, hard now, easy later. People don't want to do that. It's
Yeah.
painful. So they try to avoid it, but
Yeah.
you don't heal that way.
Yeah.
The third group, this was the group where the betrayer had very little consequences. So
Wow.
whether it was out of financial fear, not wanting to break up a family, religious reasons was a big one.
Mhm.
They just did all they could, look the other way, turn the other cheek. I saw two things with this group. Number one, a further deterioration of the relationship. And two, this group by far was the most physically sick.
Wow.
Your
Yeah.
broken heart can't handle that. But what they were doing, they were like patching up the house, patching up the house, patching up the house,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Where the others who healed, they were looking at that lot where the house once stood and said, okay, I'm going to build something new.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, what a difference. And I don't know that everyone realizes that your body, can feel so sick and you may not even know what's going on,
Well,
you know.
those are the symptoms of post-betrayal syndrome, and that was the second discovery. And we've assessed over 100,000 people, and people assume if their betrayal happened a long time ago, oh, it must be aging, oh, it must be stress. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's your unhealed betrayal. Because even something like, I remember we would have so many people come into the PBT Institute. They look one way coming in, they would look 10 years older, and then they would move through the 5 stages and they would look like 10 years younger at the end,
Wow.
because accelerated aging, immune suppression, sleep issues, um, gut issues, weight issues, and
Yeah.
that's just the physical. Forget about the anxiety, the
Yeah.
overwhelm, the sadness, the anger. I mean, I'm happy to share some stats if you want to hear them,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, whatever you think would be beneficial, it's all very interesting to me.
Yeah, because here's the thing, and everybody, I want you to, as I'm sharing these symptoms, hear these numbers. Ready? This is out of over 100,000 people, men and women, just about every country is represented. 78% constantly revisit their experience. 81% feel a loss of personal power. So think about it. If you feel a loss of personal power, what kind of decisions will you be making?
Right. Yeah.
94% deal with painful triggers. If you've ever had a trigger, you know how painful they are. Some of the most common physical symptoms, 68% have sleep issues. 47% have weight changes in the beginning. You can't hold food down. Later on, you're emotionally eating. 45% have a digestive issue, Crohn's, IBS, diverticulitis, reflux, you name it. Some of the most common mental symptoms, 78% are overwhelmed, 62% can't concentrate. So imagine like you can't concentrate, you're exhausted, you have gut issues, and you're going along acting like it's a regular day. That's not even emotionally.
Right.
Emotionally, 88% experience extreme sadness, 83% are very angry. You're taking that out on other people, your kids. You can't, you're so overwhelmed with this. 79% are stressed. Just a few more. This one killed me. 84% have an inability to trust.
Oh, wow.
If you can't trust, think about what that does as far as your own decision making and your relationship going forward. 67% prevent themselves from forming deep relationships because they're afraid of being hurt again. That means the big wall goes up. Yes, you're keeping out the bad ones, but you're keeping out the good ones too. That's the majority of people. Look at the power you're giving that experience or that person. That years later, here you are not willing to let anyone get close because of what that person did. 82% find it hard to move forward. 90% want to move forward, but they don't know how. And I'll just close it with this. What those numbers were, you didn't hear me say 20%, 30%. They're super high. They're also, they don't have to be from a recent betrayal. This could be, imagine this, from the parent who did something awful when you were a kid, the partner who broke your heart in high school. So that person may not know, care, remember. They may not even be alive. And here you are, decades later, with these symptoms because it was left unhealed. But the good news is, when you move through the 5 stages, you heal from every single symptom.
That is amazing. How long do you think it takes, or is everybody different when they start going through the 5 stages?
Yeah, it has more to do with willingness than time.
Right. That's such a key word that we've been saying.
Yeah, because if someone is committed to their story, if they're committed to numbing, it'll take forever. They're not going to go anywhere. But if they're so determined and they're like, that experience, that's it. I'm never settling. I'm never doing this again. I'm never doing that again. And they're determined and they're willing to move through, hard now, easy later.
Yeah.
I mean, I've moved through people in less than 6 months.
Amazing.
Completely and totally.
Yeah. Is there like a comfort that, people like they hold on to that trauma, even though it was a bad thing that happened or the betrayal, is it something that's just familiar? It's just and also, do you think it's part of their identity where they can't move forward? Like if they don't talk about it anymore, then who are they? Is that a concept that they're thinking?
Exactly. It has become their story, and it's like they get sympathy, they get to be right, they get someone to blame, they get a target for their anger, they get to justify doing or not doing a lot of things. And then it creates this identity. We never want to be without an identity. So if this is your identity, who are you without it? And that's the thing. And that's one of the biggest reasons why people don't heal, because they're so afraid, if I heal, who will be my people?
Yeah.
Who will I talk to? Who will I surround myself with? So instead of, who will I surround myself with? So instead of taking a chance on healing and meeting a whole new group of people that is just, the energy is at a whole other level, they sabotage themselves for the known familiar. Again, the only thing, the only benefit is that it's known, is that it's familiar. That's it. Right. But that's where someone will sabotage themselves because they're afraid to outgrow their betrayer. I will never forget. Someone said to me,
Wow.
she met with me once and she said, Dr. Debi, my husband has been having affairs for the 30 years of our marriage. He has no intention of changing. Can you do something with my brain so it doesn't bother me?
Oh my gosh.
No,
No, I
no,
can't.
I'm not your person. Right. But that's what people do. They're so afraid
Yes.
of moving forward from what they know. They would rather sabotage their growth
Yeah.
just to stay with that
Right.
familiar known.
Exactly. And I've tried to explain that to people. It's like, and our brain wants to go to something familiar, right? Because
Mhm.
it seems less dangerous or
Yeah.
scary, I
Mhm.
guess, even though if it's terrible for us.
Yeah.
I mean, I that just resonates with me. I didn't want to look directly at the sun, I always say, because if I did, everything was going to blow up. But until one day I said, I have to blow this up because I'm not happy. And if it stayed like this forever, what was I going to do? I wasn't going to survive it. And I felt so young and wanting to go on and do a different life if this is the way life was going to be.
And here's the thing too. And when people aren't young, then they justify it even more. They're like, well, I'm too
Yes.
old to deal with this. I'm too old. That reminds me of another story. I was working with someone, she was in her mid 60s, and she was dating this guy, and he was just awful. And she knew it.
Mm.
And she was settling and she knew it.
Yeah.
And then we did the work and she's moving through the stages. And all of a sudden she says to me one day, she's like, he was a cone. And I'm like, what? What's a cone? What do you mean? She goes, you know, when you want to go, there's a parking spot, but there's a cone in it.
Oh,
So you can't park there. All he was a cone. And when she removed him and she healed, she realized she was available for someone so much more
yes.
worthy and deserving of who she had become. But when you're just settling for the familiar known, you
Yeah.
don't realize what's waiting for you. But think about it, the version of you, this, and because I mean, I just see everybody at the stage 5 version of them, the stage 5 version of somebody who is
Yeah.
so healthy and healed and whole and confident. Don't you think that version of you will attract someone
Yes.
and situations so worthy and deserving of the version of you that you've become? Like if I tell you the version of me now, the stage 5 version of me now compared to who I was beforehand, the things that come my way
Hmm.
and the things that I'm able to do, like, we founded National Forgiveness Day. I
Yeah.
didn't have access to things like that when I was stuck
Right.
in my trauma,
Yes,
just
exactly.
all kinds of things. But we don't know that if we're just like, no, you know what? Let me just take this because it's what I know.
Yeah. I mean, that just resonates with me for sure. When I was going through my healing journey, I called my friend and my coach at the time and I said, "So that's it? I just won't have friends. This is it?" She said,
Yeah.
"They're coming. They're coming."
Yeah.
Because I needed to I needed, well, I was leveling up, I guess is
Mm-hmm.
what I say, I was
Yeah.
leveling up and people could come along if they wanted to and some people didn't want to come along because Laura was different at a different level.
Yeah. And you're rewriting the script. And when you think about it, that's the classic, the caterpillar is going into the cocoon,
Yes,
doesn't bring a party in there with it.
that's true.
And it's willing to be emulsified, unrecognizable from what it was.
Yeah.
Only because it did that does it get to be the butterfly.
Yeah.
And it's a very, in that stage 4, it's a very personal time, not necessarily a lonely time, but
Yeah.
there are people around you who will rise and there are ones that will fall away.
Yeah.
And that's up to you. It's who do you want around you.
I
And
love that.
you can love the people for who they are, where they are, but
Yeah.
if that stops you from healing, that's a different issue.
Or even stops you from growing because like I
Mhm.
just know that there are some people, those people that you don't really want to share like, "Oh, I'm going to
Mhm.
start a podcast."
Yeah.
And they're not the people who are like, "Oh my gosh, really?" I have tons of those. And then I had some who are like, "Oh, I would never do that. That's weird. Why would you talk about it? Well,
Yeah.
I could never do it." And it's like
Mhm.
that to me, I had a lot of those people around me too. And it's like, I can't live there anymore. I
Yeah.
can't. Not if I'm going somewhere else.
I remember, this reminds me of another story. I was doing a live event. It was my first live event. I mean, this is a big event. I was having hundreds of people and I had sponsors and vendors and the whole thing. It was so exciting and terrifying. I had
Yeah.
never done anything like this, but
Yeah.
I was in a group. at the time a mastermind group, and that's what you did. You put on live events.
Mm.
So I meet with a group of friends who, it was like, what's going on with you? What's going on with you? It was like, and then it was my turn. And I'm talking about this event and I'm so excited. And I hear that people are going to take off from work to do something like that. And how much are you charging? What? That's a
Yeah.
lot. And I left and I was like, you know what? I still have time to cancel. I'm going to cancel
Yes.
everybody, give everybody their money back, the whole thing. And I posted on the group where this group was. And I told them, and then I hear within minutes, oh my gosh, I wish I could be there. I'd support you. You should be double. You're not charging enough. And I was like, wow, look at the difference in
Yes.
who you're sharing your story with. Be very careful.
Yes, exactly. Because I would have been the same way. I can still
Yeah.
cancel this, or maybe my price is too high. Yeah, I have so many people tell me that. It's like
Mm.
you need to remind yourself who you are so that when you're doing certain things, you don't just give it away. You don't just anyway. So that listen, Dr. Debi, we could talk all day, but we're out of time. And I am so thankful for everything you told us today. Is there anything you want to end our time together with?
Yeah, I would just say, listen, it's betrayal is, like I said, one of the most
Yeah.
painful experiences we can have. And if you have to say this a million times to yourself, it's worth it. Even though it happened to you, it's not about you.
Yeah. I
Stop
love
blaming
that.
and shaming yourself. It's not about you. This was someone else's unhealed trauma, sense of entitlement, whatever. It's not about you, but use the experience to your advantage and heal.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing everything with us. And I'm going to put everything in the show notes, but where can everybody find you?
Oh, thank you. Everything is at the PBT, as in Post Betrayal Transformation, the PBT Institute.com.
Thanks again for being here. I appreciate you so much. You guys, if anything resonated with you today, please reach out to Dr. Debi. And of course, push all the buttons. Tell Podcast Land that you love us. Go check out her podcast. And of course, if, just like anytime you see anything, just let Podcast Land know you love us so we can keep doing this work. Dr. Debi, thanks again for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you.